So Lancashire Police have set a precedent that if you are disabled and receiving disability, you cannot protest anything. So let's talk about that. Hey guys, what's up? Sam Bosworth here. I'm angry again. That's right. So what I just said is true. Lancashire Police have more or less set a precedent here that if you are disabled and receiving disability living allowance or personal independence payment here in the UK, which is our welfare disability benefit, then you apparently do not have the right to protest without having that taken away from you. The headline is, a police force has admitted passing video footage and other information about disabled anti-fracking protesters to the Department for Work and Pensions, or as I'll be calling them from here on out, DWP. So what's happened here is that I think it was a few months back, a group of anti-fracking protesters. If you don't know what fracking is, it's a type of sort of underground drilling that puts really bad stuff into the sort of water around areas. I'm not going to get into that, what that is. It's not really important for this video. You can Google it if you want. It is quite interesting to read into. So basically, there was a group of anti-fracking protesters sort of all sat in a lay-by on various chairs, etc. This is a picture that was used on the article I sort of got this information from. As you can see, they're mostly all sat down. They were sat there holding up signs, sort of protesting fracking that was going on nearby. The police, I assume, were called or were just monitoring what was going on as it wasn't yet a main road, I guess. And the police, I assume, saw people there either in wheelchairs or with walking aids, took pictures of them, sent them to the DWP who were in charge of assessing people for benefits, and within 2 months of those pictures being sent, at least 2 people, maybe more, but 2 people that I have information of, lost their benefits. So what the hell? I'm going to give you the facts as to what happened, and then I'm going to talk about why it is insane. So this is a confirmed thing. It had been up in the air for a little while. I had seen an article about it a few weeks back, and it was thought that this is what had happened. It was thought that the police had taken pictures, that they had then sent them to DWP, and that these people had lost their benefits due to those pictures and video being sent. And the police have now, a spokesman for Lancashire Police has now confirmed that that is exactly what did happen. So you might be thinking, what were these 2 people doing to sort of get in trouble? You might be thinking, well, obviously they were running around, or, you know, it was obvious from looking at them that they weren't disabled. I'm going to make a whole other video on why you can never tell just from looking at somebody whether they are disabled or not. But anyway, the 2 people that got in trouble, one had a spinal cord injury, I would assume, but it didn't necessarily say in the article. They were probably a wheelchair user, whether it was electric or manual, I don't know. But they had a spinal cord injury that was never going to get better, and within 2 months of them protesting at this area, they had a letter and they had to be reassessed by the DWP, which means somebody comes out to your house, does some ridiculous rudimentary tests to decide if you are disabled enough to get a benefit. And then if they decide you are, you get the money. If they decide you're not, you get your money taken off you, and you potentially have to pay some back if you were already on it. Now this guy went to his doctors prior to the assessment and sort of said to the doctor, why is this happening? Do you think I'm not disabled enough? And the doctor couldn't understand it at all. Spinal cord injuries do not get better. I mean, I have a disability that is degenerative, and it's never going to get better, so there's no point in people like me or this guy being reassessed. But due to video that they saw, I guess, of him sitting there holding a sign, which is all he could have really been doing, I would imagine, they decided to reassess this guy because they didn't like that he was out protesting and out of his house. The second person, it's not as black and white, but I still don't think it's acceptable. Apparently there was video footage of a lady taking a few steps forward and back. I imagine the rest of the time she was sitting. I think that's what the article is sort of suggesting. And apparently that was enough to not only have this woman's complete disability benefits stopped and taken off of her, but she was also fined and had to pay back £6,000 that she'd already received sort of the benefit in the past couple of years. And on top of that, she had her car taken off of her. In the UK, in case you don't know, if you get disability benefit, you can use that money to pay for a car. You get it for a lot cheaper than it would have been. You get the insurance paid for. Any repairs are done at the official garage. You only have to pay for petrol. So she lost that benefit, and because of that, she also lost her car. Now, in my opinion, however you look at that, that is completely insane. For one, no matter who it is, doctor or otherwise, in my opinion, just from a brief glance, or even if you stood in somebody's presence for half an hour to an hour, I don't think you could tell whether or not they're disabled. Being able to take a few steps does not mean you are not disabled, and even in my opinion, by the guidelines set by the DWP for personal independence payment and disability living allowance, being able to take 2 or 3 steps forward and back should still qualify you for those benefits. I am currently in the process of having to apply for personal independence payment after being on disability living allowance at 16 for what was supposed to be indefinitely. And I know what the criteria is, I'm in the middle of it right now, and to me, I can't see how a video of somebody taking a few steps, and there was another part that apparently she'd leant on something, and that didn't help her claim. Insanity. And it gets so much worse, because you think, I can't believe this has happened, but their reasoning, now that it's all come out and they've had to make statements on it, is just beyond belief. So I'm going to read you some quotes here, and after I've read the quote, I'm going to say why I don't believe these quotes are all fair. So the first quote comes from the Police and Crime Commissioner for Lancashire. The pictures and video were sent from Lancashire's police force. I will link the article down in the description if you want to read all this yourself. I'm not going through it line by line. I just wanted to pick out the parts that I think are worth talking about. But be sure to check it out. It is completely disgusting and unbelievable what's happened here. But anyway, the Police and Crime Commissioner for Lancashire, which is a Labour member, which is upsetting because Labour is left and they tend to be pretty good for disability. Politically anyway. But anyway, he said, if police have any information to suggest that fraud or any other crime is being committed, they understandably have a duty to do something about it. Right, let's break that down. So he said, if police have any information to suggest that fraud or any other crime is being committed. Number one, police are not medically trained. I mean, they do have some medical training, obviously. They are often first on the scene when it comes to accidents, but they are not trained to assess somebody's disability just by looking at them with their eyes, if they're sat down on a chair, or even if they take a few steps. I don't think anybody without a thorough examination, even the DWP and PIP assessors that have been around to my house, the assessments they do to decide if you were disabled are insane and not fair at all. But a policeman standing there, probably annoyed because he's having to monitor this peaceful protest of a few people sitting around in probably not very warm weather, deciding to not only see this but then get his phone out or whatever device he had and take pictures and film these people is insane. And something else about that really rubs me the wrong way is how did he know that these people were claiming benefits? I don't imagine he would have ran a check on each individual at the thing. So did he see people sitting in a wheelchair and think, somebody in a wheelchair protesting? This is unacceptable. They must be receiving benefits. And if they're out here sitting in a wheelchair or outside, not in their homes, they can't be disabled and receiving benefits. I just don't understand how that is even possible. So for him to say that if the police suspect fraud, I don't think that's fair, I don't think that's viable, I don't think it's right, I think it's incredibly authoritarian. I don't get why the police can make those kind of decisions for individuals, especially when they haven't even examined them. They've literally observed them, maybe talked to them very briefly. I seriously doubt about disability, certainly wasn't mentioned in the article. So he then went on to say they understandably have a duty to do something about it. No, they don't. I really don't think it is the police's place. Again, kind of goes back to what I was just saying. To suspect somebody has a disability, for one, which I don't think you can really do realistically, whether they're, if they're in a wheelchair, yeah, you might think they're disabled. You don't know what their disability is. You don't know how it affects them. Secondly, people who receive PIP and I think disability living allowance can be honoured for being blind, for being deaf, and for having mental health issues. You obviously cannot see those. For the most part, they are invisible illnesses. So for him then to take pictures and video people, or for a few different, I don't know if it was one officer or a few, for them to take videos and pictures of somebody because they don't think they're disabled, I don't understand. Because they don't think they're disabled enough to receive benefits but also be a functioning human out in the real world is insane. But don't worry guys, it gets even worse than that. So something which really also rubbed me the wrong way is the website I'm using here called Disability News Service. They post some great news about stuff when it comes to disability. Be sure to check them out. But they reached out to the DWP to ask if they had some kind of program or whatever in place to receive things from the police like this, like pictures and video of suspected fraud, and they had something in place to receive this information and do something about it. And the DWP said, or a spokeswoman for the DWP said, there is no formal arrangement in place between DWP and any police force for this or other similar scenarios. Now, if we scroll a bit further down this article, a Lancashire police spokeswoman said, the DWP are a partner agency, and where we have information to suggest that fraud may be committed, we have a duty to pass that on, including video footage if we have it. So not only did the DWP lie to this reporter who got in touch with them, but they have in fact confirmed that if the police suspect somebody of being disabled, I've gone through why that's insane, they can then send video or pictures to the DWP and say, I don't think this person's actually disabled. When the DWP spokeswoman was asked whether or not the DWP had received any information, she refused to comment, and she also refused to say whether DWP accepted that disabled protesters claiming disability benefits have a right to protest. She would not comment on whether she thought people in receipt of benefits have a right to protest. I don't think I need to say anything about that. That is disgusting. Of course we do. To suggest that disabled people can't protest about fracking is bad enough, but then it would also precedent and suggest that we cannot protest about bad things happening specifically to disabled people, like these videos I'm making here, for example. I don't understand how they could possibly say that, but it's already gotten bad. It gets even worse. So here is a quote from that same police spokeswoman. I'm going to read you 3 lines of things that she said. The first thing she said was, "Do we accept that people with disabilities have a right to protest? Yes, of course we do." Great, spot on, love that. Of course they do. So they should. But then she says, "Are we concerned that by passing on information we are setting a dangerous precedent? No, we are not." Of course you are. To suggest that somebody in a wheelchair is protesting and that they should have their information sent to the DWP because you don't deem them to be disabled enough to be in receipt of benefits is completely disgusting. I don't understand how they can possibly say that is not the case. I'm angry about this. You should be angry about it too. Disabled or not, this is horrific. They then finish off by saying, "We will, of course, facilitate the right of anyone to protest lawfully." You more or less just said that you didn't think it was okay. You said you didn't think you were setting a precedent by sending on the information of people who were disabled protesting, and then you said that you will actually help them and facilitate them. Can't be both. Complete. And then, even worse, I'm just going to read out this little section. A Force spokesman, I don't know if this was a policeman on the site, the way he talks, it sounded like he was, but he said that Lancashire Police had passed on the information and video footage from the Preston New Road to DWP, and he said the Force had a duty to do so. He denied that this was setting a dangerous precedent that was likely to deter other disabled people from exercising their right to protest. Of course it's going to deter people. People cannot afford to live without these benefits. He also said, "I don't think there are any concerns from our end." And this is the worst quote. This is the worst thing that anybody related to this article has said. This official police spokesman said, "Ultimately, if there are people that are found to be claiming benefits down at a protest site, there's obviously an issue there." So that's black and white. He is saying, if you're disabled and you're claiming benefits for you to be outside of your home, even if you are in a wheelchair and you are obviously disabled, if you are outside of your home while claiming benefits in your wheelchair, it is unacceptable for you to be protesting. He obviously thinks if you're disabled enough to be on benefits, you should be at home in bed, in agony, writhing in pain. Little does he realise that I would imagine the guy with the spinal cord injury was probably in a hell of a lot of pain that day. People don't seem to realise that people with disabilities, when you see them doing something, even if it is a leisure activity, even if it is something fun, or if it is something like a protest, chances are they are still in pain, but they are pushing through that pain because they are passionate about something. Again, it could be leisure, it could be something fun, it could be shopping, it could be being out with their friends, it could even be a wheelchair-related sport, they could be trying it out, but it could also be protesting. In this case, it was about fracking, but to me, that guy is also saying that disabled people should not be allowed to protest about, something related to them, about the Conservatives' treatment of disabled people in this country. There has been a UN report saying that the treatment of disabled people in the UK has been despicable. He was then asked, I think he quickly realised the mistake he'd made when he said that, he was then asked if he thought that meant people claiming disability benefits should not be allowed to take part in protests, and he said, "It's obviously a case-by-case basis really, what the benefits are being claimed for in terms of their position down at the site. That's a decision for the DWP anyway. We have passed that information on. They will make a decision, an informed decision off the back of that." No, they won't. And again, it goes back to how does he think he has the right to suggest that a disabled person is not disabled enough for benefits? It goes back to what I said before. Did he know that, the picture that I showed you, I assume this is a picture from the day for it to be included in the article, has 6, 7, 8 people on that picture, maybe more, and there was probably more people around the site. How did he know that the woman specifically, because I don't think she was in a wheelchair, how did he know that she was disabled and to take a picture and then send her picture to the DWP? He's making a judgment that he is in no place to make, regardless of how much medical training he's had. Even if he was a doctor, without a thorough examination, he had no right to be making those decisions or assumptions. So I hope you can assume why I'm pissed off about this. The overall precedent that has been set here by Lancashire Police is that if you are disabled and you are receiving disability benefits, you should not be protesting anything, and in my opinion it is also saying you should not even be out of your house, because to sit on a chair on the side of a road or anywhere doesn't really make a difference. It's not that troubling for a lot of people on disability. I am currently probably in a 6 or a 7 out of 10 in terms of pain for my back, but I'm passionate about something, I'm trying to do something about something bad, I'm trying to talk about it. Similar to what these protesters were doing, does that mean I should not be allowed to receive benefits because I can sit in a chair and talk for 20 minutes, you know, with breaks? You know, you haven't seen the cuts in this video, you haven't seen the heat pack on my back, you haven't seen the medication I take. The same goes for these guys. It isn't even just looking at somebody and knowing if they are disabled. You don't know what their care routine is like, you don't know how long it took them to recover from a potentially short protest. You know, if I go out of the house for even half an hour, I'm laid up for 2 to 3 days, potentially even a week. It depends on my medication, it depends on how I've eaten, it depends on how I've slept, it depends on my chronic fatigue. There are, you know, a myriad of issues and things surrounding this. And for an ignorant, I'm not going to say an ignorant policeman, to think he has the right to judge somebody just by looking at them and say, well, I think they're disabled, but I don't think they're disabled enough, because that's the assumption he made. He had no idea if they were disabled. It's disgusting. I would honestly call for this guy to be fired, or at very least reprimanded. I can't imagine that the Lancashire Police would back up that spokesman's words, but I guess surely he would have run them by somebody before he said them. So Lancashire Police, and in my opinion, thus, you know, the police in the UK in general, are saying if you're disabled, you shouldn't protest. Completely disgusting. I've said my piece. I would love to know your opinion on this. Do you think the police are right that if somebody is out of their house sitting in a chair protesting, they shouldn't be allowed to receive benefits even if they are disabled, but not disabled enough for benefits? I would love to know what you think. Do you agree with what I'm saying? Do you think this is disgusting? If you do think it is disgusting, or even if you don't, I would love you to share this video. You know, I want people to talk about this. I haven't seen any coverage of it on any mainstream news sites. I've only seen it on this one disability-centric site, and obviously that's the place where it would be talked about. But this should be being talked about by, you know, the BBC, ITV, Channel 4, all the papers. It's disgusting, it's despicable. To suggest disabled people cannot be out of their house protesting is beyond a joke. So be sure to share it, talk about it with your friends. If you don't want to share my entire video, the article that I gleaned all this information from is down in the description. Be sure to share that, share a quote from it. I think the quote of the last spokesman who said that he sort of didn't think people should be out protesting if they're on benefits is a particularly powerful and disgusting one, so be sure to share that with your friends. If you've liked this video, be sure to hit like. It will make far more people see it, and maybe we can spread this information. You can also subscribe. I post a video every week if I can. A lot of it is like this, sort of angry, activist-related videos, but I do also post videos about my experience with my disability, Charcot-Marie tooth disease, in general, so be sure to check out all my past videos. There'll be a video for you to check out in the end card. You can also follow me on Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, all of that will be in the end card. And it will also be down in the description. I post behind the scenes stuff all the time. I also have a disabled blog where I talk about disability news, sort of like this, so be sure to check that out down in the description too. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. This is important information. I'm really glad you took the time to watch it. Have a great day. Bye!